Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another broadcast here of Samba Tree in the Lab. And tonight's going to be a very interesting one as we try to make all of them interesting. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, by the way. It was another wonderful weekend here, actually, weather-wise. My wife and I actually went to the beach the first time this year, I think it was the first time this year. We went to the beach. It's nice enough there, but we went there and it was the fog was setting in because yesterday, a good part of yesterday was cloudy like it was today, but the sun now is fighting back. So, but yeah, nonetheless, it was a very, very nice day. But I hope you have a nice day too. We'll be getting into some very interesting things this evening. So we're just going to hang out here for a few minutes, give people time to get on here, and as we get ready for tonight's broadcast. I'll do that one there. I'll do that one. All right. So, and just real quick to let you know, we're also simultaneously broadcasting over on our Facebook page. And our Facebook page is Samba Tree. Just if you're on Facebook, you can find us over there on Facebook. It's Samba Tree. Just do a search for it there. Someone said, have I heard of Wall Street Trapper? No. I'm assuming they're here on YouTube. Showing you the page there. Yeah, I'll check it out. You said it's called Wall Street Trapper. Yeah, I'll check it out. Samba Tree. All right, this is our Facebook page here. We're simultaneously broadcasting over there as well. So if you're on Facebook, you can join us over here as well. All right. And we just put a bunch of other stuff on there. Again, good to see everybody here. We'll give people about another minute and we're going to go ahead and get started. Hey, Christina. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, as always, so good to see everybody in the chat, and so good to have everybody here this evening. Tonight, we're going to have a very interesting conversation. We're going to talk about, basically what is being done to attack your Black power, and in that there is a war going on. It's a war. I think this is a conversation that many of us have spoken about in pieces, but my goal tonight is to hopefully to kind of put it all together so that you can really see and understand that this isn't just it's not anything at all to take lightly. This is something to take very serious. I'm not trying to hype you up or get you another thing to worry about or anything like that. But I want you to, as our eyes for many of us are really starting to become more and more open to things that have been around us for a long time. This is something that we cannot emphasize or discuss enough. I'm sorry. And so we're going to be getting into it a little bit tonight. So we'll try to move it along very quickly here. But anyway, so good to see you guys here today. For those of you just joining in, those in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Again, this broadcast tonight has been brought to you by Samba Tree. SambaTree.com. Let's go ahead and bring that page up real quick here so you can take a look at it. For those who aren't familiar with it, Samba Tree is our store. There's our online store. We got a whole bunch of stuff on here. Not going to take too much time here, but I think most people that are here right now, you're familiar with what we got going on here. We just added organic raw chia seeds, and man, I've been adding it to all kinds of stuff, including this drink I got in my hand, and I've been adding it to teas and stuff like that, and I definitely can tell you, I have noticed a difference. Certainly have noticed a difference in just my everyday in terms of focus and energy level. Those are the two areas I can say I noticed the immediate impact. There's some herbs you take, you got to keep on taking it, and then over time, you'll begin to notice some things. But but this right here, I can honestly say for myself, I've definitely have noticed some some changes, some differences in my life there. So yeah, if you ain't tried that, man, you definitely need to try it. Like I said, again, everything we have here, you ain't got to buy it from us, but the goal is to bring these things to your awareness, just to use this more as an educational platform so that if anything, it will motivate our people to do better in the area of what we put on our bodies and what we eat. We will very much appreciate it if you bought from us. But if you don't, nobody going to have an attitude with you. Look at you. Let me check the record and see that they buy anything from us. No, we ain't like that. This ain't church. Okay, we don't do things like that here. But anyway, so I'm just kind of combing through real quick here. We have a men's group on our Threema platform, and man, they have been turning it out. Every time because I just zip through there real quick, and they're like, yeah, well, I made this sun tea, and I made this sun tea. I'm like, they got a little competition going on over there. I'm like, okay, all right. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. The importance of, exposing your water or your, it's basically water. But tea as well, all the benefits of tea, you're going to get all the fruit, all the benefits of whatever those tea leaves have. But really it comes down to water, exposing water to sunlight and what it does and why it's so important. So we're going to touch on that too this evening. I'm just kind of, again, just taking you through all the stuff that we have here on our site on SambaTree.com. And definitely, if you get a chance, go ahead and check it out. Everything from seasonings to capsules and, capsules, if that's a lot easier for you to take it, like burdock root and sea moss, things like that. We got all of that going on. As you can see, the different oils. We got a whole essential oil section. Deodorants is so important to make sure you're putting on the right deodorants, because if you are still putting some of these some of these other crazy roll-ons and roll-ons that are out here, or just the regular paste stuff, you got to be careful, because a lot of times they just be adding all kinds of stuff. For real. They just be adding all kinds of stuff to these deodorants, and you wonder why, some of the causes of people getting breast cancer, even amongst men, it can be traced back to these deodorants and what they're putting in there. Because that's why you got to be careful with deodorants too, because the goal isn't to block your glands down there. You understand what I'm saying? You don't want to do that. You want to sweat, but you want to make sure that, you ain't stinking under there. So step one is to make sure you wash it under your arms, okay? Don't be smelling like no hoagie shop. Well, that's a Philly thing. A sub shop, I'll say that, okay? That's for the rest of America. You know what I mean? Like, man, who cutting onions around here? No, I ain't crying, but I'm about to. If you don't go wash your arms up. Anyway. So we got that going on. Another thing on here too, tongue scrapers. How many of y'all, well, you ain't got to answer me. The importance of scraping your tongue. During the night, your body is at work. It is busy doing its thing, cleaning up all that stuff, all that bacteria and stuff. And one of the places where it places a lot of bacteria is on your tongue. That's why your breath stink in the morning. So you don't just go in and start brushing your teeth and like, okay, I'm fine. You ever wonder, like some people, like, go on, brush your teeth. And they're like, yeah, I just brushed my teeth, but their breath still stink. I know some of y'all have experienced that. Maybe yourself. Maybe that was you. Maybe you're the one. But, you brush your teeth, but your mouth still stink. Well, let me help you out here for a second. Your teeth generally don't stink, okay? Teeth generally don't stink unless you don't floss, okay? And then that's a whole different thing. I said generally. Now, if you got some rot going on in your teeth, and yeah, those teeth do stink. But outside of that, if it's really not your teeth in most cases. Like I said, again, unless you're dealing with some cavity situation, that's something different. But the biggest contributor to bad breath is really your tongue. All right, it's your tongue that be stinking. And if you ain't scraping that thing, if you're not taking the time to scrape that tongue to get all that stuff up, I know it looks nasty. It does in the morning. Every morning when I do it, I don't even be trying to look. I'm like, just get away from me. You want to make sure you get all that bacteria out. Get it out, okay? Just get it off. Don't just take some mouthwash and think it's just going to disintegrate. Nah, you want to scrape all that stuff off. Get it all out as much as you can. And, just do it a few times until you get all that out. And I tell you what, it'll make a world of difference, So, yeah, but we just happen to have tongue scrapers, but not just any ones. We have copper ones, and it's $5. And, why copper? Copper is wonderful for, fighting against bacteria. Did you know that? There's a video that I was going to, my wife sent me recently, somebody actually using copper wire in their garden. Yeah. And they were saying the difference. I mean, they was really going to the scientific reasons of doing that. And they talked about the results that they were getting with that. I will post that. I was going to post it today, but the day just went real fast for me today. But if I don't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow. But anyway, we also have a section here for bulk. If you want to buy things in bulk, which is you'll save even more money by buying in bulk. Everything from sorrel. If you want to make some hibiscus tea, if that's, with the summer here, this is a great time. If you a real, a big sorrel drinker, well, here you go. You can get, you can buy a lot of it in bulk, but you could save a lot too with it. Then we have the 50/50 pepper you can buy in bulk. You can get, the burdock, bladderwrack, sea moss capsules, all that in bulk, all this stuff. And you just take your time and just go through it. And we have a whole section there, and we'll be adding more to that soon. So we got a lot more there. But again, go check out sambatree.com and make sure you subscribe to if you're on Facebook, subscribe to our Facebook page, which is simply Samba Tree. And you can also, we have a YouTube page, which is also Samba Tree. Just do a search for Samba Tree on YouTube and you'll find it. And, do us a favor, go ahead and subscribe to them as well. I'm just trying to hit that 1,000 at least on there because I'm able to do certain things, I guess, on there once I hit 1,000. So we'll see. But, but anyway, so glad to have you guys here tonight. And again, so glad to have everybody here in the chat. So tonight we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about what this whole thing about. First of all, let's establish what Black Power is. Let's get away from the political. So if you came here tonight thinking I was going to talk about politics and how we need to make sure we get our votes together for this next election, then I don't hate to disappoint on that one because we ain't talking about that. Okay. Nobody talking about that because that ain't hardly Black Power. I'm sorry. As long as you are in this system, as long as you are in this matrix, it's going to be very difficult for you to demonstrate real power. That when I mean power, I'm talking about where you have authority and where you can actually control things, control narratives. You can even overtake certain others narratives that have that has imprisoned you. You know what I'm saying? So our power in this matrix is, if you will, is as long as we remain in their matrix on their stage, we do have power, but it's going to be limited because why? They are the ones in the control seat ultimately for now. Okay. But there are many things we can do, where we can really walk in some real power. But first, we got to identify those things that these wicked people are doing to limit or even eliminate, the power that we have. I'm talking more in the natural, but it also bleeds into the spiritual aspect as well. So so we're going to be talking about that tonight. Like I said, again, we ain't getting into the politics. Okay. We're not talking about that. We're talking more about what we can do for ourselves. I'm real big on that. There are things we can do for ourselves that will really make a huge difference. And it shouldn't be no surprise that the focus, the foundation of what we're going to be talking about is the sun. Yet again, yes, we're going to talk about the sun. And for the spooky in the house, I ain't talking about worshiping any sun or the moon or the stars. We're not worshiping that, even though you got people out there that are about that. No, but we need to. Our thing here at with Samba Tree is this: it's not just a business in terms of we're just selling things and buy. But what we understand, I'm talking Nicole and I and everyone else that works with us, is the importance of this moment that we're in right now. And that is the importance of, because we can talk about a spiritual awakening and whatever that means to you or whatever. But if that spiritual isn't a tangible one, then what good is it? All you're doing is just talking. All you're doing is just running your mouth. And it's no different than people in the church back in the day used to say, I can't wait for the next revival meeting, and it's like, once a year you had a revival meet. Then after the revival, then what? Then it's nothing else. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to talk about awakening, it has to be a tangible component to it as well. Back some time ago, I was saying, there's a lot of people talking about, I'm in awakening, but I'm still hearing news about people, marriages getting broken up, still hearing about people getting sick. So, still hearing about some of these other things, people, committing adultery and stuff like that. I was like, okay, well, where's the tangible piece of this awakening that you're talking about? Because everything else looks like it's the same, to me. And, so those are real things we got to look at. So there has to be a tangible piece of it. And I believe that the time that we're in right now is an awakening. I do believe that. And this is a time that we got to, how the saying goes, seize the moment, and I think, so the area of focus for us is in the area of health and wellness. And so when we started, Samba Tree, it used to be called the Brew Gardens, but now it's the Samba Tree. The real emphasis was really education, is really wanting to create a platform where we're educating our people on these very simple things that one can do to make a huge difference in their health and in their well-being. And so that's what we've done. We've done many, 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 many videos on that. Oftentimes we would get emails from people, and this is even before that, where people would ask questions about, hey, listen, I'm dealing with this, or I'm struggling with this in terms of health issues. And then all we did was share what we knew, and what we didn't know, we would say, hey, listen, we will forward you to someone else that did know that could help. And so we saw it as an opportunity to say, hey, listen, let's create a platform where we can really be a help for people, in this area of health and wellness. And to say that it has grown I think is really an understatement. We have been able to help so many people, and so many testimonies and emails that we receive from people who have seen tangible and measurable differences in their health, especially in the area of high blood pressure, diabetes, and many other areas as well. We got our dear sister that's still fighting that cancer situation that she had. And man, it's just the news that keeps coming back is getting gooder and gooder for her, so it's just a wonderful thing, and on the other hand, we just got an email recently from someone who was just diagnosed with breast cancer. And so our mindset here, I'm just taking this moment because I want to kind of people to really hear our heart and know what we're about here when it comes to what our mission is. We don't accept these diagnoses, if you will, that these pharmaceutical industries give to our people. Now, I want you to understand this. I want you to really, really get what I'm saying here. Because what we understand is, the medical system as established here in this country was established, and its foundation is evil. It is wicked. I do not care. I am no longer moved. I'm no longer, not that I was ever brought to any tears or anything like that. Oh, look at the whole class of doctors, a whole class of black doctors. Now, family, this is winning. This is winning. Look at all of these black doctors. See, I used to look at that and be like, man, see, we got to talk about this. And where's the media at? Why the media ain't talking about this? All that, And then after a while, I started figuring it out. And I was like, well, okay, that's good. They get an A for their, because becoming a doctor is no easy task. It really isn't. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of dedication, and it certainly takes a lot of investment too. So yeah, right on, for that. But once they get into the industry itself, at best, all they're doing is repeating the same stuff that got us in these positions in the first place in the areas of health. All they did is change the mask from a white one to a black one. So if someone comes into the office, let's say, and they're suffering from a illness as it pertains to their breathing or something like that, or maybe it's joint issues or something like that, then all they're going to do is, they're going to open their books given by the white man, and they're going to follow that. And they're going to say, well, in school, they said I'm supposed to do this, but now it's not really that anymore. It's like, okay, here's a book, and it's an index of all the pharmaceuticals that you can give them. And when we prioritize the ones that you get the biggest bonuses if you hand out these, you're going to get the biggest bonuses. So so a lot of these doctors, oftentimes when they are recommending medications to you, they're not just thinking about you. They're also thinking about themselves. Why? Because a lot of these pharmaceutical companies, they're not supposed to do it, but they'll find ways around it, where if you hand out their stuff, you may get a little something on the back end. Again, you're not supposed to do that legally, but it does happen. You can't tell me it don't happen. It does. So I know for some of you, you may be in the care of a doctor that you have been with for many, many years, and you've established a great relationship with them, and that's good. But and they may have been kind of a family friend and all that stuff. Okay, that's good. But what I'm talking about really is the system. This ain't personal. This is business, and that's how we got to see it, and that's how they see it. So they can give you someone that can talk. You remember during the whole COVID thing? Do you remember that where they had the black doctors come on there and they was like, shoot, well, you got to tell Big Mama and them. And, they start dropping all that, black vernacular kind of stuff. They felt like they had to talk like that to relate to us. But at the end of the day, after all of that, they were still recommending the same thing that the white people were telling everybody to do. They weren't giving anything. There was no separate black consortium of doctors and medical professionals said, listen, bunk all of that. Forget all that. We're going to take this thing. We're going to go to our own labs that we own and we operate, and we're going to analyze this thing from tip to toe. And we're going to, and based off of those results, that's what we're going to deliver to the people. Do you understand? To our people. I didn't see any of that. All I saw were black doctors that were simply repeating what the white doctors were telling them to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that has to stop. And that cannot, and so we cannot depend on people whose livelihoods are connected to that industry. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't care if they are the nicest and sweetest and adorable people on earth. But if your livelihood is connected to that industry, there's more often than not, you only going to go but so far when telling the truth. And sadly, even with the doctors that look like you. I have to tell you, because a lot of our people are still under this false impression, believing that, well, they're black doctors and they'll never steer us wrong. Trust and know, family, there are a lot of them that do. There's a lot of them that will do that. They do that, and they don't take into full account the consequences of what they to give their patients. And, they just don't. You understand? And again, this is not personal, because you do have many, hair in my mouth. Hold on. The heck? You do have many people in the medical industry that are nice and are pleasant. And then you will even have some that will tell you the truth, but they can only go but so far. That's with any industry. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you're tied and locked into a particular industry, there's only but so far you're going to go to tell people the truth. We talked about this on this platform a while back, even during the real estate bubble from back in the day. People don't want to talk about it, but we saw firsthand. I'm talking about my wife and I. There were black real estate agents. There were black loan officers that knew that they were getting over on black folks, and they were going right along with it. They were not telling them all the details of the contracts or anything like that. But all you heard in the media was, look at what these white people doing to black people and all. That's all you heard. But on the ground level, it's about them. It's about their pocket. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm trying to tell you. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So you have people out there that do not care. You understand what I'm saying? Why? Because they're tied to their industry. That applies to a lot of stuff, family. That applies to a lot of stuff. On this platform, we talk about a lot of issues. There's a lot of things that we touch on. Here, there was something I mentioned in our the Samba teaching that we did this past Saturday, and that's been uploaded, by the way. And I pointed out how, you had individuals that had put out a documentary, and, I didn't watch it, but I saw a major clip of it, and there were things in there. It took me maybe a half an hour, and because they had made reference to a book that I just so happened to have. And the quote that they put on the screen is not even in the book. I don't know where they got that quote from, but it's not in the book. It's nowhere in that book, but they put it on the screen, and people watching, most people if you're watching a movie or if you're watching a documentary, you're not going to pause it and go look. Most people won't do it. Some people will, but most people won't do that. They'll just be looking like, yeah, oh man, this is truth. This is truth here, man. But you will never look it up. But I tell you, like I said, it was this one answer. I looked it up. It's not in the book, nowhere. So what I'm trying to tell you, family, you got folks out here who, because of their own self-interest, they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they maintain their position, wherever that is. And they're going to make sure that you stay in your position. I'm trying to tell you, I got to emphasize this, family, because I think for a lot of our people, in your minds, you still think that, well, they look like me and they they would never do. I'm trying to tell you, you understand what I'm saying? So I know for us here, we do our utmost. I say, anytime if I'm getting into a deep topic, like what we've been doing in our different series and stuff like that, I'm not going to just show you a quote. I'm going to give you the whole book, because I want you to see it. I'll give, if it's a book I'm quoting, I'm going to give you the whole, and I'm going to give you access to the whole book. Okay. I'm going to tell you the exact pages on where you can find those things, and what I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you as much as I can. And then I'll let you decide. I'm not trying to steer you in any way. We just want to lay the information out, and what you do with it is completely up to you at the end of the day. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all that being said, this is the mindset that we carry here with Samba Tree, is that we have a passion. we have a passion when it comes to the wellness and the health of our people. And, so things such as high blood pressure, diabetes, these are things that are, I believe, are low hanging fruit issues. But unfortunately, these low hanging fruit issues have taken out a lot of our people. And it angers me. It really, really angers me when I hear about our people who have been dealing with this stuff for years, spending thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars on medication that only thing that medication is designed to do is to keep you at a status quo when it comes to your health. That's all it's designed to do. It is not designed to heal you. It's designed to keep you in their loop so that doctor can get paid and that pharmaceutical company can get paid. But see, we're not dealing with that here. We want to find real solutions so that you can get out of that matrix, you can get out of that loop, and you can live a whole and healthy and prosperous life. You understand what I'm saying? And that's really the goal. And that's what we really try to do here. And so there's things like like the topic we're going to deal with tonight and what we're going to be talking about. This is something we've been talking about for a very long time, just all the benefits, physical benefits of exposing yourself to sunlight. And, and so even though that may seem like an easy topic, it's something that we have to intentionally take a lot of time with, because it's no insult to anybody in the room tonight, but you got some people who are very slow learners, and you got to keep repeating it until you get it. You understand what I'm saying? Because once you get it, it's a wrap after that. It's you straight once you get it. That's the key. You know what I'm saying? And because we get so much information thrown at us, and and we don't allow ourselves time to completely process things. That's why I got to take things extremely slow. And people get mad sometimes. They're like, man, just get to the point. Well, you need to leave, because this is the slow people room. Okay. Slow don't mean dumb. Slow means that we're processing every bit in detail. You know what I'm saying? So that's all that means. So anyway, I just wanted to give that to you. So that's, and what we're doing here is not just here. We're also working on some other projects too. One day we'll talk about it, but we're, building alliances and stuff like that. That's, that's going to have impact in other parts of the diaspora. And we're very, very excited about that. And I'm extremely excited about that. But it's going to take time, just like everything else. And but, there's a lot of things in the works here. So, but that's what you're part of. It's really a movement, if you will. You know what I mean? So it's not just an online store. This is a movement to get our people into good health and wellness, so that you can be in tune, clear. You can really hear the one that you say you're following, the Most High. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get into it tonight. So let's start off with this. The other day, and I actually posted this on the community page. Sorry. I posted this in the men's group. I want to see if I can find that video. So I went outside. This is the other day. Unfortunately, with it being spring, the bees are very active, and not just bees. These are, well, we got the what you call it, the bumblebees. They love our area. And see, bumblebees growing up, I've never had problems with bumblebees. They just big, and I just don't want them near me, near my ear. But these, they be flying around like they trying to bully me. Like they try to get all close up on me. They go, and then they come back around and be like, I'm like, leave me alone. Raid is right. I'm about to call in a raid in a moment. I don't want to do that. I want to give you a chance. And Nicole was like, well, let me look up what's a natural way to get. Well, she identified, I think, where their nest was. So she got some, cinnamon. And she threw some cinnamon on there. And I would say the last 2 days, I haven't seen anything. So they're cool. But then you got these, I don't know, they're wasp or whatever. And then they trying to do something. I was like, I had to get the raid on them, because I'm like, y'all crazy. Because see, with bumblebees, the way their stinger is, they can keep stinging you. I've never been stung by them, but they said because they're really not aggressive. That's why I said their nest must be around, and then, like Nicole identified it, because like bumblebees typically aren't aggressive unless you're like near their nest or something like that. And, but with bumblebee stingers, they don't come off. So they can keep stinging you. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. Someone said carpenter bees. I think that's what my son said. Yeah, and the carpenter bees, they were like trying to make their own nest too. I said, nah. I ain't trying to kill y'all, but I'm going to spray this stuff as a deterrent. And I did that. I had to do that a couple of times. I think they're getting the message. But nah, no. Keep it right on moving. The Most High done gave you all that land out there. Go and use that. Don't come up in here, okay? But anyway, so needless to say, with all that being said, I couldn't go out. So I sprayed and I had to stay indoors. But fortunately, I was next to an open window, had a screen on there, and I was still up there trying to get my sunlight, right? And now off and on, they do their little chemtrail spraying and all that. We're going to be talking about that tonight. But this particular day, and when I'm going to show you, I want you to see what they were doing. This is a video that I actually posted in our men's group, because, every now and then we'll say, oh, they're spraying today. So let me go ahead and get this video here. And this is what I posted here. Hold on, let me see. Now, this is a video I took. It's through my screen. But you'll hear me talking. You'll be able to see it. Bruh, they said that today they were like, man, we're going to have to take down some of that sunlight. You see this right here? And it always, they try to do it right over the sun. Make sure it stays covered. I wonder sometime, like when they say, oh, today is going to be partly cloudy, are they actually getting that weather report from the military? Because if it wasn't for this, it wouldn't be partly cloudy. Seriously. I mean, when you look at the sky, rest of the sky, I wish I can show you. I just sprayed I think they're wasps, so I had to stay in. Anyway. Yeah, and then I got some pictures here I want to show y'all too. Okay, let me start off with this one here. Oh, shoot. Okay. Now, the top left-hand corner, the sun is there. Just look at the brightest part of the screen of this picture. The sun is over there, all right? So what they were doing is, you see these lines here, all of these lines, it was like they were leading the sun, if you will, and it was like plane after plane after plane were like doing these lines, and they always do it near the sun. Always do it near the sun. Let me see here. So let me get that. And here's another one here. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. My bad. Here's another image of it right here. You see these lines here? See, a lot of times we don't notice these things. A lot of us, we just be going about our business, doing our thing, right? And you see these lines right here. And what was happening was, over time, these lines would start expanding. And they would just, and then it made it up, because they said, oh, it's a partly cloud. It's going to be a partly cloudy day. When I tell you that sky, for the most part, it would have been a nice, clear blue sky if it wasn't for them doing this. So the only reason why this sky was a partly cloudy sky was they were doing this stuff. And I was watching this happen in real time. Let me see if I have I think I have another one here. This is a little bit later on in the day. I had a video of this so you can see all of that you see there. That's from result of plane activity. You see all that right there, and that's right here. That's another plane right there doing his thing. Now, these people will tell you that, oh, well, listen, that's not, the whole chemtrail thing. Come on, man. That's not a chemtrail. That's the water condensation that's coming off of the engines. And, that's what they will tell you, right? But all I'm telling you is this. Let's say it's not a chemtrail. Let's just say it, all right? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it ain't a chemtrail. It's condensation. All right, let's just say that. Well, what I'm telling you is my eyes sat there and I watched this condensation literally it came like you seeing right now on this screen right here. It started off as a line, and and it spread out. It started spreading out. And what would otherwise have been a nice clear blue day, sky day, it wasn't. And the only thing that was making it that was these planes that I saw up in the sky and what they were doing. That's the only thing I saw. And so they can blame it on whatever, but I'm telling you what I saw. All right. Now, the other thing that was interesting a little bit later on, because after I was finished that, I had to go run some errands. I'm in the car, and you know how they have those, do I have hold on, did I do this here? Hold on, let me see if I can get the image here. Just give me just a moment here. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Let's send this to my phone. Send this from my phone, sorry. Okay. All right. So after all of that, right? So I got in the car, and I'm in the car, and you know how they have those digital signs, like if you're on a highway or whatever, they tell you, make sure you fasten your seatbelt, so don't text and drive or whatever. And then sometimes they'll give like a weather alert, right? And so on the weather alert, they were like, they said it's going to be a, what did they say? Here's the word right here. Air quality alert. Air quality alert until 9:15 a.m. Saturday to April 15. Now, I sat up here and I was like, hold on for a second. I said, air quality alert. I said, I wonder if they're giving these air quality alerts that we get oftentimes. I know you've gotten them too, maybe wherever you live. Maybe on your weather app on your phone, it will say, oh, it is an air quality alert. I wonder if that's tied to this spraying that they're doing. I just wonder that. In this particular case, it's a very extremely high probability that it was, because like I said, again, the air visually was fine. The sky was fine, except they were doing all this flying. You know what I'm saying? And putting all this stuff in the air, So these are things now that, when you start really paying attention to it, starts making a little more sense. Now, I'm going to show you a video now. I got like a couple of videos. I'm going to show you some clips here that's going to prove that I ain't crazy at all. You're going to hear right from these people themselves and tell you exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. But tonight's theme, everything we're going to talk about, when we talk about Black Power, when you hear me talk about that, again, as for those that are just coming in, I am not talking about politics. I'm not talking about we're going to gather together in DC and we're going to do a march. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the way your body, I'm talking about bodies that look like mine. Black folks, okay? Our skin, the way he made our skin is that he made it in such a way where we can take, and we should take, a lot of sunlight. We can take a whole lot of sunlight. That's how our skin is designed. That's how our bodies are designed. Is to take in a whole lot of sunlight. And what you're going to see tonight is these campaigns in these different pockets to convince you that the sun is your enemy. All right. And so we're going to just show you the lies that these people have been telling you and why you need to kick that out of the house, and you need to start embracing the reality of what this thing that the Most High put in the sky, why it's so important and why you should be embracing it. It should be a daily part of your life. So that's going to be the underlying theme, what we're talking about. And again, for the slow in the room, nobody's telling you to sit down and do a prayer altar to the sun god. Nobody's saying that, okay? Nobody's saying that at all. But there are things that's in nature that we have been trained to shun away. Case in point, the dandelions that are in your lawn. We've been trained that, these are just weeds. Kill them. You got to kill these weeds. You know what I mean? In reality, a lot of those weeds that you've been killing actually are, in many cases, are herbs that you can use that will bring healing in your household. A lot of herbs that are out here that grow, that we call weed, and they even give you the poisons for it. Oh yeah, they're gonna say you want to kill all these weeds. You got to get, so when you see a lawn and you're driving in a community and it's full of dandelions, isn't there something a lot of times in us, you see, man, that lawn just looks like a mess. That's a hot mess. They need to cut that thing down. It just looks like a mess. We think that way, don't we? When you see a lawn like that, and then when you see a lawn that's just perfectly green and looks lush, and you're like, oh, now that's a lawn. Now that is a lawn right there. That's not a lawn. Yeah, well, a lawn, think about it. A good percentage of your property is property that you ain't growing anything on it but grass. Back in the day, a long time ago, for land like that, there's a lot of people out here saying, what we need to do, we need to get together, we need to buy some land. And you're not thinking all the land that you got on your lawn that you can be growing all kinds of stuff. All kinds of fruits and vegetables. You can have a whole crop up there. But why don't you? For two reasons. One, it's not what everybody else is doing. And two, if you got an HOA, it's against the HOA. So things are designed in such a way where you got fruits and vegetables. Oh, I have to go to the grocery store and buy my fruits and vegetables there. I can't grow. I don't have any land to grow anything. When you do, you got a lot of land. But they've programmed you to think that, no, you can't do anything on there. So now, okay, you're not going to grow any weeds. I mean, you're not going to grow any crops or anything. Okay, fine. But the weeds and stuff that you get on there, a lot of that is medicine. A lot of it is. But you've been trained to think that these are your enemies. No, do you understand? There are plants that grow a certain type of year because it's preparing you for what is coming ahead. It's, in other words, if for example, dandelions, the properties that are within dandelions is something that you need to have in your body for this time of the year. Dandelions don't grow in the winter because they're not the most beneficial there. In the wintertime, you need access to other things. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whatever you can access during the winter, typically like berries and things like that. But during the summertime, when you get all this stuff, when you got certain plants that are growing around you, that's him telling you, okay, you're going to need these access to these plants because of what's happening, around you. You're going to need this. I'm giving you the medicine you need. Why are you going to Ecker Drugs or whatever that's open? Walgreens, why are you going there? I'm giving you your medicine right in front of you. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the mindset and how we're taught to kill what's good for us. You understand what I'm saying? Our lawn is full of dandelions. I'll get out there and I'll pluck them. Next day, they'll be up again. So I got a whole lot of dandelion tea. Did I get that thing on? It's over there somewhere. I got a whole lot of dandelion tea I'm making, like, dry dandelion that we're going to be using. We're going to use that all throughout the summer. And that's how it should be. So anyway, so with that being said, let me now, because I don't want to get too far off on that. Because I want to stick to this whole thing about the these chemtrails here. Okay. So let me play for you this video. It's a couple of videos that I want to play for you where they're actually telling you what they're spraying up there and why they're spraying it up there. All right. So let me go ahead and find that. Let me see. Okay, yep, here it is. Hold on, it's an ad first, so I'm getting rid of this ad. Okay, now there's another ad. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, so let me back that up here. All right, here we go.
Rainforest has prompted renewed global outcry over climate change and big spending. $5 million from Leonardo DiCaprio, 10 million pounds from the UK. Meanwhile, Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
How long will it be that countries keep experiencing these climate impacts before someone gets desperate and says, hey, we need to cool the planet with solar geoengineering?
It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth. Back in 1991, Mount Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines. It was the largest eruption to affect a densely populated area, creating avalanches and giant mud flows that left more than 700 dead and 30,000 homeless. It also spewed a cloud of 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide particles into the stratosphere. That chemical cloud was hundreds of miles across and reflected about 2% of sunlight back to space. And in 1992, the Earth was cooler than in 1991.
That is part of the mechanism, but you do this in a controlled way.
Modeling studies have found that it could reduce the intensity of heat waves, for instance. Apparently it could reduce the rate of sea level rise. It could reduce the intensity of tropical storms.
But it also comes with significant risks and uncertainties.
Things like mass famine, mass flooding, drought, of kinds that will affect very large populations.
It could weaken monsoons in India, China, and Africa enough to affect crops. It could eradicate blue sky.
You start increasing the amount of diffuse light and you have less direct light, which is the same thing as saying it looks hazy and white.
And if the global community decides it should stop?
So you stop injecting it, and after a year, the cloud is gone, and you get this rapid warming at a rate much faster than you would get if we had done nothing. If you've taken out the greenhouse gases that are adding to the warming, then the temperature won't go up, it'll stay what it is. So if we don't stop emitting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, we don't try as hard as we can to do that, then there's no point in doing solar geoengineering.
A 2016 opinion poll conducted by the Harvard group doing solar geoengineering research found that 67% of subjects support its use. One reason this technology is appealing, it's cheap. One study estimates it would cost an average of $2.25 billion globally every year for the first 15 years of deployment. Compare that to the $500 billion the U.S. government estimates it will cost just the U.S. by 2100 if no action is taken against climate change. Or the $1.6 to $3.8 trillion projected global spending by 2050 on low-carbon energy production. You can also compare it to direct air carbon capturing, another climate change solution backed by Bill Gates and by big oil. It involves
Okay, so it's so they're getting into some other things they're doing. But I wanted to show you that what's interesting is that a video like this, there was a time they would have dismissed this as, oh, it's just a bunch of quackery. That's not true. They're not spraying anything up there. But now they're just openly talking about it. They're telling you, hey, yep, we're doing it. And this is what, but the way this is being spun is this is just a proposal. No, they're doing it. They're doing it. Okay. And so what they were saying was the belief is, for some of you who are watching, well, why are they spraying up there? Why are they doing, as they said in the video, they believe that, we're in the midst of global warming. And so when they looked at these volcanoes and they saw all these volcanoes in this short amount of time span, all of these millions of pounds of dust or whatever that was put in the atmosphere by these volcanoes, it was reflecting a lot of sunlight back up there, and so the following year they noticed that it was a lot cooler. And so they're saying, how about we just take a cue from that and we start spraying our own stuff up in the air, and we can make it a lot cooler everywhere else. Well, wait a second. First of all, who asked you for that? Why not let nature do that part on its own? Why are you doing that? Nobody didn't ask y'all to do that. But number two, which I can't, like I said, when you want to get into, if you really want to get into this topic of chemtrails and stuff like that, one of the people out there I would recommend is a gentleman by the name of Dane Wigington. He has a documentary out called the Dimming. If you do a search on that, he has a great documentary on that, and he also has a website called Geoengineering Watch. Here's his webpage here. You can look this up on your own, okay? It's called Geoengineering Watch, and this is something this is all he talks about. He's been talking about this for years, and he really dives into let me see if I have the pictures up here. He dives into the not just as far the impact of light, the sunlight, but also the contaminants, that the chemicals that are in there, beryllium and what was the other one that someone mentioned? And there's two of them, but there's other ones too that they add in there. But what it does, once that stuff falls to the ground, and the impact it's having on things such as wildfires, our drinking water, what we breathe in on a regular basis. That's stuff, what goes, like they said, what goes up comes down, and so that's the part they're just like, well, screw it, we don't care, that kind of thing. But tonight we're focusing, and like I said, again, that's a whole topic in of itself. Tonight, we're just focusing on the impact it's having on sunlight, okay? And so what they tell us is that, the UV rays are very dangerous. The ultraviolet rays is what's very dangerous. Let me tell you something right now. Ultraviolet rays are not dangerous to mankind. They're not. Do you really think the Most High will put something up in the sky that will kill you? No. And not only that, whether or not if you believe in God or the Most High or whatever, I mean, trees and animals have been on this earth for many, many, many years before you came, and they'll be here for many, many more years after you leave. The animals ain't been complaining about, well, doggone it, it's too hot. Can someone do something about the sun? I know that sounds silly, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to make a point here. Animals ain't been complaining about it. Animals been complaining about it. We're the only ones up here thinking that, well, I ain't saying we. They the only ones that think that we got to cover up the sun. We got to spray the sun. And the impact that will have when you look at, for example, like the different seasons, right? Spring, summer, fall, and winter. Do you want to know what really gives the cue to these plants and these trees when to start growing their leaves, when to start bearing fruit, when to start start shedding your leaves and going into a sleep mode? Do you want to know what tells them that? You want to know what gives animals the cue that they need? Okay, it's time to hibernate. Okay, it's time to do that. It's the sun. The sunlight gives them that cue. And so when you start messing around and screwing around with the sun and the amount of sunlight that we're getting, it's purposely going to start messing around with everything else. It's going to throw everything else off. So anyway, like I said, on this website, this Geoengineering Watch, there's a lot. You can go a lot deeper with it, because these chemtrails, the impact that they have on the environment, it's many layers to it. But like I said, for tonight's discussion, we're simply going to be talking about just the sunlight aspect of it only. Okay. All right. So I have another video here I'm going to show here. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this video here, this is a short one. It's under 2 minutes. It's talking about ultraviolet. You know, like I said again, they tell you that, oh, the ultraviolet rays are coming out of there. They're dangerous. They're gonna kill you. You know, you gotta put something on it. I mean, you know how people say, man, these some lizard people out here. That really sounds like some lizard people would say some mess like that. You don't sound human complaining about there's too much light. I mean, you think about that. Oh, the lights, they're too bright. They're gonna burn us up. Meanwhile, you and I, we walking around like, man, it's cool. We like this thing. But you know these people cannot be human to be complaining about there's too much sun. There's something off about that. I'm just trying to tell you. Anyway, so here's another video here that's going to school us very quickly on the benefits or what ultraviolet light, what it does. Okay, so let me bring that up here. Let me see. Okay, got another ad up here. Hold on. Okay. All right, here we go.
Ultraviolet, or UV light, is part of the electromagnetic spectrum, which includes radio waves at one end of the spectrum and gamma rays at the opposite end. When organized by wavelength, UV light falls between visible light and X-rays. UV light is the same as the rays that we get from the sun, and there are three types of ultraviolet light that reach the ozone layer around the Earth. There's UVA, UVB, and UVC. It's important to remember that without the ozone layer to protect us, artificial UV light can be harmful to living things and should be used in unoccupied spaces, or special protective gear should be worn to avoid the damaging effects to skin and eyes. Looking at the electromagnetic spectrum again, and breaking out the three UV types, UVA and UVB can be used to kill bacteria, mold, and fungus. But what separates UVC apart is its ability to also kill viruses. UVC is the point where the wavelengths become short enough to disrupt the virus. UVC light is an excellent and powerful tool for disinfecting and killing bacteria and viruses. Its biggest limitation is that it only works in line of sight. To illustrate this, let's take a look at these blocks and assume that they are objects in a space that you want to disinfect. Now imagine that this light source is the UVC device. Everything that the light is hitting is being disinfected, but anywhere that you see a shadow has not been sanitized. You could add in another UVC device to cover more area, but there is likely to be some areas that will still be missed. Portable UVC lights could be used to try to reach more areas from different angles, but UV should be used alongside other measures of disinfecting, like air filtering and sanitizing solutions. The effectiveness and range of the UVC lights is based on the power of the device and the distance to a surface. The further the distance, the longer the exposure time required to fully disinfect the area. At bulbs.com,
There you go. A very good point. I mean, they shorten to the point. So they talking about UV light, and he was mainly talking about the UV light coming from the sun. Then he went into UV light like you can get like from light bulbs. Bulbs.com. That's a great way to advertise your product. One thing we talk about, LED based light, and we had a discussion about that as well. Because you're dealing with AC current and DC current. You're dealing with one that's like frequencies. You're dealing with it's going up and down, up and down, up and down. You got to be real careful with exposing yourself. Like right now, it's about 8:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm looking outside right now, and it's pretty much dark. There's a little bit of light out there, but it's dark. What happens when it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night and you're fully exposing yourself to bright light? What you're doing, there's a lot of stuff that you're throwing off because your brain at this hour is trying to prepare your body. It's time to go to sleep. It's time to go to sleep. When you think about people back in the day, before they had these lights, what were they doing this time of the night? They were still up. But they would have what? What kind of lights were they using way, way back in the day? Candlelight. Candlelight. It's a lower frequency. And when you have candles, like right now, if you were to turn off all the lights in your house and you just had candlelight going, how would that make you feel? Think about how that would make you feel. It makes you feel kind of relaxed and easy, don't it? Same thing like with a fireplace, right? Just makes you feel kind of relaxed and easy. Well, that's a lower frequency. The sun, during the day, that frequency is like, why? Because you need that energy. to do, to work. Because during the day, what are you doing? You're working, you're doing your activities and stuff like that. And then during the night, as it starts going down, that frequency is going lower, right? So another thing they pointed out in here was that those UV lights, the UV frequency, because I'm mentioning that word frequency, vibration, right? We did a series on that. It's high enough to where it can kill bacteria and it can kill what? Viruses. So, gee, I wonder why they wanted everybody staying locked up in their houses during the you-know-what. Gee, I wonder why. It kills viruses. Again, we had someone reach out to us, or I think left a comment or email. I can't remember. They said they weren't feeling well. They had a cold or something like that. They sat outside under the bright sun, and they said within minutes, they felt wonderful. You know what I'm saying? So the sun, it can do that. It gives a lot of that. It helps. It aids the body in repairing and fixing itself. And so what I'm doing is I'm drawing a picture. I'm showing you by them doing all this spraying, what does it do as far as our bodies are concerned? It takes away our body's ability to repair itself, you know? So I just wanted to point that out with the UV rays. All right. So let me go to this next thing here. Let me see what other video I had here, or was it a video or was it the next topic here? Hold on for just a second here. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Here's another one. This was, give me just a moment here. And this is an excerpt from another video. All right, let me get to that section here. It's the actual science. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right, it's an ad here. Oh, 2 ads. Okay. All right, here we go.
Anybody watching this podcast or listening, if you're on the audio format, to send me a study that shows sunlight, the big ball up there in the sky, and cancer on humans. Please send me that study, because the only studies I have been able to find, and trust me, I have looked really hard, have been where it is narrowband UV light studied in a lab. And those are the correlation with the cancer and the UV and all the damage. Now, I'm not telling anyone to go sunbathe for 6 hours a day if you're a Fitzpatrick skin type 1 or 2, one, I'm probably a 1, even after all my sunbathing. I'm not telling anyone that the sun cannot damage your skin if you don't overdo it, if you don't practice correct circadian rhythms, correct viewing sunlight and exposing sunlight in sequential order. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that there is literally no study that I have been able to find, and I'll challenge anybody listening to this to find one for me, that actually shows sunlight and human beings and cancer in the same study. To me, I haven't found one. Have you?
That's a great point, Sarah. I was actually for a long period of time looking and investigating, and I found that a lot of the studies that have created tremendous fear about UV were conducted back in the 1980s. And one of the main studies was actually done on monkeys at the College of Virginia in 1981. And the result of this study is highly questionable, as they do not pertain to reality. What they actually did, they tranquilized the monkeys, and their eyelids were wide open with lid clamps, which fully dilated their pupils.
Wow.
Okay, and so they were not able to blink. And blinking is this natural mechanism that we all use to adjust the different brightness of light and protect our eyes if light was to be too intense.
Mm-hmm.
And beside this physical abuse, they shown an intensive bright light with extremely high levels of UV, which does not represent the balanced trace of amounts of UV that we get from natural sunlight.
Right.
And as you mentioned, the UV was narrowband, and it was shown in isolation from the regenerative frequencies like the red and infrared that we continuously get from sunlight every time UV is present. So yes, abnormal amounts of UV light shown on dilated pupils in an abusive way like this will definitely cause harm. There's no question.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love the analogy by Dr. John Ott, because he says giving too much oxygen at birth can blind the baby. However, it would be foolish to think that we need to avoid oxygen at all costs. And it's literally the same kinds of studies on laboratory animals that were very abusive and repeatedly burning the skin and the eyes of animals that led to thinking that UV light causes cataract and skin cancer. And it really surprises me so much that in the 20th century today, with the unfolding of science, many intelligent people still fall into this polarized, unbalanced way of thinking about nature. Again, it's like trying to look at the world through a straw, and it does not work that way.
Good points. Very good points there. You know, I wanted y'all to hear, especially the part where he talks about how they do conduct these studies. You know, the lady there, she talked about how I'm still trying to find a study that links sunlight or too much sunlight leads to cancer. Now, there are a lot of people who may have thought that, yeah, well, of course, I mean, you can't, it's just too much sunlight. It's going to give you cancer. You know, it's going to give you cancer. How many of y'all have you repeated that, or you just kind of thought that? Well, there ain't too many studies out there, not really. And the ones that are out there, according to this, you know, these people in this conversation here, and I have another source here, there's not. And the studies that are out there, what they do is it's these very extreme set of circumstances that they establish, that it's nowhere in the world it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Kind of like when what was going around. It was a control. I kept pointing that out to people and was getting a lot of trouble with that on Plantation Tube. You know, what they were doing was they said they were doing controlled experiments, because the claim was this, was airborne. But when you read the details of the studies, they were in this enclosed room. There was no air circulation, and they're standing right there where someone sneezes. Of course, you're going to catch it. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Well, yeah, someone mentioned in sunscreen. Sunscreen is also a major contributor to skin cancer. It's a major contributor to that. Why? Because you got all of these cocktail of chemicals that you're putting on your skin while your pores are at its most optimum. They're open. So you're putting all of these chemicals in your skin and you're baking it on top of that. I mean, you just a recipe for disaster over the long haul. So no, I don't care if you have dark skin like myself or if you have lighter skin. This applies to whomever. You need to get sunlight. Now, that have darker skin, we can take greater amounts of sunlight. We need to. And we'll talk about that why in a moment. But if you have lighter skin, you need to get sunlight too. But the question is, are you going to die? Are you going to get some kind of cancers if you get too much sunlight? No. If you're putting unless you're putting that sunscreen on, then yeah, you're increasing your chances. But the sun in of itself ain't going to kill you. All right, it's not going to give you all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so here's another thing that I have here too, and this is a book that I have right here. I'm gonna start off with I'll tell you the name of the book here. I found it free online. It's called I'm just trying to make sure I remember my place here. The UV Advantage. All right, you can take a screenshot of that. All right, it's called The UV Advantage. It's by Michael F. Holick, PhD, MD, and Mark Jenkins. The medical breakthrough that shows how to harness the power of the sun for your health. All right. So yeah, so that's the book right there. Like I said, you can screenshot it and there you go. If someone's like, can you show me again? Just rewind and there you go. Okay. So I just want to read this part here. Let me see if I had no. Okay. Okay, I'll just read this here. Skin cancer facts and fallacies. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you so maybe y'all can see it a little bit better, okay? Let me read this here. Many myths are associated with skin cancer thanks to the barrage of public misinformation on this topic. The fallacies. Any and all sun exposure causes skin cancer. UVB radiation from sunlight is thought to be one of the causes of non-melanoma skin cancer, especially chronic overexposure to sunlight. However, science doesn't fully understand what the connection is. Because humans can't live without UVB radiation, this statement needs to be questioned. Number 2, sun exposure is the main cause of melanoma. All right. There is no scientific evidence that regular moderate sun exposure causes melanoma. As the FDA observed after a 1995 conference on melanoma, the relationship between melanoma and sunlight is baffling. Melanoma is seen more, listen to this part here, melanoma is seen more often in people who do not receive regular moderate sun exposure than in those who spend time in the sun. Now, how many of you have thought the other way around? You thought that melanoma was because you just in the sun too long. No, not according to the stuff I've been seeing. I'm talking about reports and stuff, the things I've been reading. No, it tends to come into people who aren't getting enough sun. Melanomas also usually occur on parts of the body that receive no sun exposure. This suggests that genetics play a much more important role in the development of melanoma than does regular moderate sun exposure. This is also evidence that UVB protection only sunscreens may distort the UVB-UVA ratio that penetrates into the skin, thus contributing to melanoma development. We kind of touched on that there. All right. We are in the midst of a skin cancer epidemic. That's another one. It is inaccurate to call the increasing incidence of skin cancer an epidemic. Skin cancer rates have been rising steadily since the early 20th century. Everything's an emergency. Skin cancer rates, here's another one. Skin cancer rates are going up solely because more people are sunbathing. Although skin cancer rates have been rising steadily since the early 20th century, it wasn't until the 1960s that a tan skin was considered desirable. Present-day people actually spend less time outdoors than our forebears, most of whom worked in the land before the Industrial Revolution. Working outdoors throughout the year probably helped previous generations build a resistance to sunburn in the form of tan skin. More recently, especially in the 1970s and 80s, when a severe sunburn was considered a prerequisite for an eventual summer tan, people have become more likely to get sunburn, which is thought to be one of the main causes of melanoma. In addition, the use of UVB protection-only sunscreens probably contributed to the rise of melanoma because they promoted massive exposure to UVA. All right. Here's another one. There is no such thing as a safe tan. Tan skin protects you against sunburn. Did you know that? Thought to be the main cause of melanoma. Also, it's more dangerous to avoid sun exposure completely than it is to get a regular moderate sun exposure. If you avoid getting sunburn, the benefits of sun exposure will far outweigh the possible dangers. Independent scientific research has shown that if you live in a sunny climate or if you live in a not so sunny climate but expose yourself to sun, then your increased production of vitamin D due to UVB radiation will help lower the risk of a host of debilitating and fatal diseases. This is why you have a lot of states like out west or like in Florida, they're known to be very healthy states. What's the common thread? The sun, the amount of sun that they get. You know, you got white people, for example, a lot of white people who live in these sunny places, you know, like Colorado, that's another state. Colorado, Arizona, I guess Utah. You know, when you're out there, even like, you know, when they're out there skiing and all of that, and they're on those mountains and all of that stuff, they're getting the full benefit of that sunlight. You know, if you out there too long, you know, they may get suntan or rather sunburned or whatever, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that's going to lead to cancer. It's not that at all. A lot of people are living long, healthy lives, especially in climates like that, and so the sun, again, is not our enemy, so it's just that you got to pay attention to, like my wife, for example. Now she's black, but she's got, she has lighter skin than me. So I can be in the sun just about all day and be like, what's up? Her, on the other hand, after a certain while, she's like, okay, I think I need to go in now. I'm getting a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And it hits her different, so she doesn't require as much as I do because my skin is dark. We're going to talk about the differences in that and how, the darker your skin, the more time you need to spend out in the sun. All right, we'll talk about that in a moment. Tanning is like smoking for your skin. Who the world said that? Here's another lie. Wrong. Tanning is natural. It's your body's natural defense against sunburn. Smoking is an unnatural habit that your body rejects by becoming ill. Oh, can someone just slap this? Whoever wrote this thing, man, they just hitting that thing, man. They just hitting this thing right out the ballpark right here, man. Just slap this person. Let me read that again. Tanning, this is the lie that people say. Tanning is like smoking for your skin. Wrong. Tanning is natural. It's your body's natural defense against sunburn. Smoking is an unnatural habit that your body rejects by becoming ill. There you go. We canceling all these lies tonight. Here's some more facts. Sun exposure may actually prevent cancer. Numerous published studies show that the regular moderate sun exposure helps prevent several forms of cancer. Cancer rates in higher latitudes where there is less sun exposure over the course of the year are higher than in summer climes. Furthermore, both men and women who live in higher latitudes who make an effort to be exposed to more sunlight decrease their risk of getting these common lethal cancers. Cancer-wise, the benefits of sun exposure outweigh the risk. Non-melanoma skin cancer has an extremely low death rate. In the United States, it claims 1,200 lives a year. Colon, prostate, and breast cancer, which together claim about 175,000 lives, can in some cases be prevented by regular, moderate sun exposure. People who get regular, moderate sun exposure are less likely to get a malignant melanoma than those who don't. It is a scientific fact. If you get regular, moderate sun exposure, you have less chance of developing malignant melanoma. New research shows that melanoma is more prevalent in Europe and North America than the equatorial latitudes, which again suggests that regular sun exposure may prevent melanoma. At the very least, moderate sun exposure will not increase the risk of melanoma. So it's a lot of benefits to living in areas or being in areas where you're getting a whole lot of sun. You do not buy into this lie that more sun, it means there's just an increase of danger to your bodies. Because again, all you got to do is look at these plants, look at these animals out here. Does it get hot for them? Yeah, it gets hot. But they can figure it out. And yes, you do. Sometimes you do have animals that die because of the heat, or they don't have access to water and all of that stuff. But these fools, these devils out here, they're so quick they want to blame the nature, everything that he has perfectly set in place to balance everything off. They want to kill it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so I thought all of that was very good here. Let's move on here. Let me take a look here at my because the next thing I want to touch on here. Let me go back here. Just give me just a moment here. I talked about that. What was that video about? Oh, okay. I know what that one was. Hold on. Let me see. Okay. All right. So let me now talk about vitamin D. Let me talk about that. Okay. Now, one of the benefits of you as an individual, when you are out in the sun, your body is creating something that they call vitamin D. All right. And it's something that it's something that benefits a whole lot of your body. In fact, most people, unfortunately, are deficient in it. So what do? They say, we're going to make pills. We'll make pills for you, okay, so that you won't be deficient. The pills are okay, but I'm going to tell you, it's not really that's not the optimum. I would not depend on the pills that much, all right? Let me read to you, this is from from the Health Ranger, Mike Adams. All right, I want you to take a look at this article here. All right. Vitamin D myths, facts, and statistics. And this is all going to tie in just a moment. Once I finish this article, I'm going to show you how it ties into the title of our broadcast, okay? 15 facts you probably never knew about vitamin D and sunlight exposure. And just really quick here, down the list here. Vitamin D prevents osteoporosis, depression, prostate cancer, breast cancer, and even affects diabetes and obesity. Vitamin D perhaps is the single most underrated nutrient in the world of nutrition. That's probably because it's free. Your body makes it when sunlight touches your skin. Drug companies can't sell you sunlight, so there's no promotion of its health benefits. Truth is, most people don't know the real story of vitamin D and health. So here's an overview taken from an interview between, okay, and let me see here. I'm just going to, there's a lot of benefits here. I'll put the link. Let me put the link in the chat for you, okay? I'll put the link in the chat for you, and you guys can go through this on your own, okay? Let me put that in there for you, and that'll be just your little reference there. All right, there you go. Okay, so I'll just highlight some of them here, okay? But because I want to show you something else here. I hope I got that. Okay, I do have it. Okay. The healing rays of natural sunlight that generate vitamin D in your skin cannot penetrate glass, so you don't generate vitamin D when sitting in your car or home. That's a very important point. So where you really get the maximum benefit of sunlight on your skin is when you're outside. You're not behind glass. So even if you're sitting at a window and you're getting it's all sunlight coming through there, the ultraviolet rays of the sun isn't penetrating that glass. You understand? Because, mainly the glass that they use for your windows is designed to block that out. All right. So you're not getting the benefit of the ultraviolet rays. Those are the healing rays, if you will, of the sun. So that's why it's important. It's imperative. If you're like, hey, I'm going to spend some time in the sunlight, make sure you're outside. If you can't go outside for some reason, whatever, then yeah, you can sit behind a glass. If that's all you can do, you're just not going to get the full benefit. You'll get benefit, but you won't get the full benefit of the sunlight. Okay. So that's just something to keep in mind here. It's nearly impossible to get adequate amounts of vitamin D from your diet. I'm highlighting that for a reason. I'll put a star by that. Sunlight exposure is the only reliable way to generate vitamin D in your body. Let me read that first sentence again. It is nearly impossible to get adequate amounts of vitamin D from your diet. All right. We're going to put an asterisk by there, and I'm going to tell you why in a moment. A person would have to drink 10 tall glasses of vitamin D fortified milk each day just to get the minimum levels of vitamin D in their diet. All right. And then it goes on here. OK, there's a lot of stuff on here, and it talks about the list of all the things that this thing with vitamin D, what it addresses. So many aspects of so many things that vitamin D touches. It's quite interesting. All right. Let me show you just how these people, these devils, how they work here. Remember I said we're going to put an asterisk by that? A person would have to, would it go, I said, it's nearly impossible to get adequate amounts of vitamin D from your diet. So what do these devils do? So let's go to this right here. Now, this is from the National Institutes of Health. And we're not going to read this whole thing, of course, but we're going to scroll down here and going to keep on going down here. OK, and so here we go. Vitamin D. They're telling you the sources where you can get vitamin D. All right. All right, just follow me, okay? Here are the sources where you can get vitamin D. And I want you to ask yourself, what did they leave out on this list? Cod liver oil, trout, salmon, mushrooms, milk, soy, almond, and oat milks, ready-to-eat cereal, sardines, eggs, liver, beef, tuna fish, cheese, mushrooms, chicken breast, beef, broccoli, carrots, almonds, apples, bananas, rice, whole wheat bread, lentils, sunflower seeds, edamame. Yeah, I listed a whole lot of stuff there, right? Foods. These are the foods that you can get it from. Now, sunlight isn't a food per se. But here's the thing. Why y'all leave but sunlight is the main thing. I'm going to tell you in a moment just how much, if you just sit out just for a half an hour in the sun, how much you get. Just a half an hour. I'm gonna tell you in a moment just how much sunlight how much vitamin D your body generates. Just a half an hour. And then when they get to this section here and they talk about sun exposure, it's, oh yeah, you get a lot of, you generate vitamin D. Then they start getting to, but despite the importance of the sun for vitamin D synthesis, limiting skin exposure to sunlight and UV radiation from tanning beds is prudent. UV radiation is a carcinogen. Remember the list of lies I told you about, right? And UV exposure is the most preventable cause of skin cancer. Federal agencies, and then they go on talking about it. They got to add all this scary stuff to it. But all of this stuff here now, and then I have another thing here. Let me see if I can bring this up here. Hold on for a second. Slide that on here. Okay. All right. There we go. This one right here. Okay, so a cup, not a glass, but a cup of milk is only going to give you 2 IU. That's not a whole lot. All right. So you going to have to drink, like that list was saying, in order to, for many of you who are around my age, you grew up in a time where they were like, oh, you got to drink your milk. You got to drink your milk. You got to keep drinking your milk, over and over again. They just really was just going hard on drinking that milk, right? You got to drink your milk. You got to drink your milk. Why are they saying that? Why on that other sheet that I just showed you, they had a list of all of these different foods, so why? Because you can buy them. Because you can buy them. What they're trying, and this is something we're getting into next, because what they are training your mind to do, can you get vitamin D from food? Absolutely. The best sources of vitamin D from food, it's not going to be as high as sunlight, but the best are going to be like fruits and vegetables. Those things that spend the most time in sunlight, that's where you're going to get the highest amount of your vitamin D. You know what I mean? Those are, fruits and vegetables and grains or whatever that spend the most time in the sunlight, because they're just collecting sun, just like salads. Like if you're a salad eater, lettuce and stuff like that, fruits and vegetables, they're just collecting sunlight. That's why, for me, when I hear people say, well, I grow fruits and vegetables, but I use like those artificial lights, those UV lights, I don't really mess with it too tough, because you're dealing with you're dealing with AC voltage ultimately. Okay. And AC voltage is putting out a different wavelength, a different frequency. That's not natural. It's unnatural. It tastes the same, but I much rather, this is my own personal preference, I much rather get that natural voltage that's coming, which is DC voltage that's coming from the sun. And that way I'm getting what I need to get. You know what I'm saying? That's the natural voltage that I'm getting. And so, in my body. And so there you go. But yeah, so what I'm trying to show you is how this government, how these powers that shouldn't be, this is one way where they try to steer people away from the sun and get you into thinking that the only way you can get the vitamin D that you need is by foods. And the foods are going to, and this is where you got all the food companies that are all in cahoots with all of this stuff, because they're like, okay, well, come on in, we can get you your vitamin D. Don't mess with that sun now. That sun is too scary now. You don't want to mess with no sun now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, someone said, like, especially like we fortify, we add vitamin D to, foods and stuff. Where are you getting it from? Have you ever stopped to ask that? When you look at some of these cereals, it'll be like Captain Crunch. We fortified it with minerals and vitamins. Where are you getting it from? Where are you getting it from? And if you've ever seen them make foods and they're adding minerals and vitamins to it, it's like a white powder. Okay, where is that coming from? We don't know what that could be. Ash. I don't know what that is. So when it comes to, especially when we're talking about vitamin D, you always want the source. You want the source. And what's the highest source you can get it from? The sun. All right. So let me share with you this here. Let me get out of this. I forgot. I did not make this a slide, but I kind of know where to go for this. So, let me see. Doggone it. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see if this is it here. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is it. Now, this applies to people who have lighter skin. All right. Well, in this case, we're dealing with their test subjects were white people. Okay. So let me share with you this. All right. How much vitamin D do you get from the sun? All right. It says another study found that 30 minutes of midday summer sun exposure in Oslo, Norway. I'm sure maybe we got someone from Oslo, Norway up in here, but they just used this as a test case. Was equivalent to, this is 30 minutes, was equivalent to consuming 10,000 to 20,000 IU of vitamin D. The commonly recommended daily dose of vitamin D is 600. So just sitting in the sun for a half an hour, you are blowing out the recommended daily dose. Again, who's recommending it? It's the system. They only want to keep you down at 600. But if you spend at least 30 minutes in the sun. Now, again, this applies to white people. This is how much vitamin D your body's able to generate. Now, why am I making the distinction between whites versus blacks on this? When I say whites versus black, people with, I'll just say lighter skin versus dark skin. With our skin, we have to stay out a lot longer. So this was 30 minutes. I'm just guessing here. So for us, it probably will be, if we want to generate that much vitamin D, right? We probably have to stay out a lot long, at least an hour, in order to get this amount, in our bodies. It's because it takes a while for it to penetrate this beautiful skin that he's blessed us with. And we can take a whole lot out of it. And that's why I said for us, family, this is a blessing. What he's coated us with, it's not a curse. It's a blessing. Because we were designed, we were created to be outside. We are outdoor people. We're outdoor people, and we should be outdoor people. And what these wicked people have been trying to convince us is that we can live a long life indoors. You should not be out indoors all day. No, sir. No, sir. You should not be indoors all day. You should find every opportunity you can to be outside. You should, because why? Because that is who you are. That's how he designed you. Because without you being outdoors for a good part of the day, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to start finding yourself, deficient in so many areas. One of the areas of that you'll see that you're getting low in your vitamin D production is depression. Well, gee, I wonder how many black folks dealing with depression. You know what I'm saying? And then there's so many things such as your eyesight. That's another area of that you'll notice that you're not getting enough vitamin D. hair, balding areas. It's a whole list. I mean, just look it up on your own, all the benefits of vitamin D. So when you're outside, see, like I said, again, dealing with people with lighter skin, because I'm saying white, but it's not just white people. Like I said, you got people who are black, but they have lighter skin. Well, it applies to them too. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, using the example of my wife, she doesn't need to be out in the sun as long as I do. You understand what I'm saying? She can dip out there and just half an hour or whatever, and she good. You know what I mean? For me, I must be outside as long as I need to, as much as possible, so that my body can get the full benefit of this, of vitamin D. And when you look at, most people are very deficient. I'm talking about people, particularly in the West, are very deficient in this. And this is why many of us are sick. This is why our lives are cut short, because we're not spending enough time outside. Someone said this is a good point here. I remember, I know many of y'all who may be around my age, don't you remember growing up and, you'll see the kids outside doing double dutch, playing jump rope, or doing hopscotch, or, playing jacks, or, bike races and kickball and all that. You remember that? That was the norm. You would go down any street in your community, wherever you lived, especially if you lived where it was a cluster of homes or whatever. It was not common. It was not uncommon, especially after school. You would hear kids laughing outside. You would hear, children playing, and, then you hear kids arguing over some dumb stuff. Then you hear someone like, crying and all that. How many of y'all remember those days? I remember those days. I remember those days where you hear that. But now, when you drive through these communities, you don't see anybody. Where are all the children? They're all indoors. Doing what? On their phones, on their computers, playing video games or whatever. And this is why many of these children are falling in these great deep depressions at a much early age, because in part it's because of the lack of exposure to the sun. And especially our people, this is something that we have been created to do. You're created. When you look at your skin, it should tell you it's a must. I have to be outdoors. It should tell you that. It should tell you that I must be outdoors. I can't be someone that's just inside just a little bit. I mean, inside most of the day and I go out a little bit. No, you need to get your behind outdoors. Your skin should serve as a reminder of that. Your sun people. That's why I say it. Oh, so it said riding wheelies. Yeah, riding wheelies. How many of y'all remember Big Wheel? I know I'm dating myself on that. The Big Wheel, remember that thing? I used to ride. I literally rode that thing to the ground, man. Anyway, let me see what else I have here. Let me go to this video here. This is just a short clip here. I'm not going to play the whole video here. Let me see where I begin on this video. Okay, here we go. This is a short clip here. This guy, whoever's narrating, they talking about a lot of other stuff here, but I just want to talk. They're going to bring some doctors in here in a moment. I want us to hear what these doctors are saying, okay? All right, hold on.
Children still play without warning. Truth can be a flammable mixture.
We do not expect this generation of kids now, the ones born after 2000, to outlive their parents.
It's already going on right now in Louisiana.
It's going on all over. It isn't just there.
I do direct patient care, and I get all their labs, and I do diet therapy with them. And so, of course, vitamin D, they'll send them to me and say, hey, let's get their vitamin D intake up. You can't do it with food.
What's the situation with vitamin D and the people that come in here?
We're finding now that about 90% deficiency rates.
Because when they come in, some of them are so sick they can hardly walk through the door. And it's chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, heavy metal toxicity, environmental illness, and whatever other label you want to put on it, Almost every single one of them is deficient in vitamin D and iodine.
Who are you and what do you do?
I am a physician, internal medicine, alternative care.
Every year we do a big health fair here and check people's blood work. And so I've been doing that for, maybe 8 years or so. So, that's maybe 600 people. I've probably had 3, maybe 4 people. Certainly, you can count on one hand out of that 600 the amount of people that have had a normal vitamin D level.
Over the past probably 2 years, I have tested several hundred people for iodine. Only 4 have come back normal.
Same story in Amarillo. Out of 600 people, 4 were normal for vitamin D and iodine. 4 out of 600.
Now, I probably had 6 to 8 that were normal in vitamin D.
Every patient that I've seen that has had their vitamin D level checked has been low. It doesn't matter whether they're in the sun, out of the sun, use sunscreen, don't use sunscreen, whether they're fair skin, dark skin, it doesn't matter. And most of them have been severely low. A level of around 11 to 13 is generally what I see, which is severely low. And I've never yet seen a patient check that did not have a normal, or that did have a normal vitamin D level.
Explain vitamin D as a hormone and explain how it is the system driver basically and what can go wrong if that's not in our bodies.
Well, it controls many of your functions.
But is it a vitamin?
It is a vitamin that acts as a hormone, which some of your vitamins do. So it's kind of both, but it's involved in bone formation. Without vitamin D, you're not going to lay down bone. In fact, you'll break down bone. It's involved in so many processes that if you don't have it, you're going to be very sick. And I think that's a problem.
And in speaking with the former nutritionist and in reviewing the former reports, just even 15 to 18 years ago, maybe 1 out of every 100 clients had any sort of toxic metal or any toxicity.
Okay, so now they're getting into, because that video was talking about chemtrails and all of that stuff, but that was a section of that short video where they were talking about vitamin D deficiency, amongst people and what they're seeing. And so they mentioned that, a lot of these doctors, they don't look healthy. That's typically the case, isn't it? But we don't have to go that way. We don't have to be that, we don't want to look like that. You know what I'm saying? But they're just going by what they're telling them. And then probably what the system is telling them to tell the patients is, hey, here's a pill for you. Well, here's my wife, I asked her to send me let me see if I can pull up this email right quick here. Give me just a moment here. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to read it and then maybe I'll pull up something here. And how these people want to control the narrative and want you to believe that if you want vitamin D, if you want melatonin, right, you're going to have to buy it through them. You don't have to, but this is what they do. They're trying to regulate it. And so there's 28 European countries. You need a prescription, for, is it melatonin? I think it is, or vitamin. I think it's vitamin D or melatonin. I think melatonin, melatonin is something that your body, it produces, right? And, but you need a prescription drug for that. A prescription to get that. 28 countries. You need a prescription for it. And in the UK, it's actually banned. Melatonin is banned altogether. But you can get this stuff by being in the sun. So, like, for example, in Canada, I was reading something in Canada, for example. If I was reading the report correctly, I think if you want to get vitamin D, the highest you can go is 2,500 IU. I think it's like 2,800 IU. That's the highest you can get, if I got it correctly. If you want it any higher than that, then you have to get a prescription. You have to get a doctor to write that prescription. That's 25. It's like I said, it was either 25 or 2,800. I just showed you that if you spend at least a half an hour in the sun, you can get 10 to 20,000 IU just by sitting in the sun. But they want you to think small and think that you can only get it through them. That's why they have to demonize the sun by spraying over it, like we were just talking about early. Oh, it's too much sunlight. And then, and telling you if the sun does come out, you better hide from it. You understand what I'm saying? But, and then now they're telling you that, listen, if you want to get this vitamin, you're going to need to come through us. So this is how they control the narrative, is that you have to get everything from us. If you want all your vitamins, then you got to get it through our pills. You got to get it through our food. Oh, don't worry. I know it's a hot dog, but we're adding vitamins and minerals to it. We're adding natural flavors to it. You know what I'm saying? We're adding these things, that you don't need to go there. You don't need to grow your own food. Shut up. Who's saying here saying at the gate talking about grow your own food? No, don't do that. Don't grow your own food. You got to buy your food from the grocery store. Buy your food from the grocery store. Don't listen to him. But that's what they tell you. Don't do it. And so these things that I'm talking about, and there's one more area we're going to touch on, and then that's going to be it. I'm talking for us as darker skinned folks. If we just buy into what these people are doing, it will literally kill us. And it is, and it has been killing many of our people. Think of how many people have died because of this simple thing that I'm just talking about. I put a challenge out a few days ago. I told people, I said, listen, spend at least a half an hour. I said 15 minutes or a half an hour in the sun for a whole week. If you have high blood pressure, I want you to spend at least a half an hour in the sun for a whole week. And at the end of the week, I want you to measure your blood pressure again. And I want you to see if you see any noticeable difference. Good or bad, let me know. Email me and let me know. That doesn't give you license to eat and do all the other, bad habits that you're doing. But, just make sure you're eating right, of course, and all of that. And no, I'm not telling you to get off your medication. I am definitely not telling you to do that. Okay. But what I will say is you may need to take a second look at that. If you are out here taking that stuff, you may need to take a second look at that. Like people would tell you, consult with your doctor, but just know if you do consult with your doctor, they're going to tell you a fool and don't you dare do that or whatever. Find yourself a natural herbal licensed medical person. And that way you can kind of balance that off. That information is always good to get second and third opinions. Don't go by the guy on YouTube telling you anything. Go to the people who are licensed, okay? You got to work within that framework. So your doctor, if you go to your regular doctor, just know what they're going to tell you. So, and then what I would recommend is look for someone who's licensed in the area of herbal natural medicines. Have a sit down and talk with them on that as well. Seek them out, find them. And then, based on tell them what your doctor is saying, and then share it with them. Tell them what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And then you can work out the plan that's best for you. But I'm telling you, ultimately, you're going to need to do something. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're going to need to do something because this stuff here is designed to keep you addicted to their stuff. All the drug addicts ain't on the street corner. You got a lot of drug addicts that are out here right now. And it's not drug addict as in you taking it, you just going all spacey. No. A drug addict, it starts here in the mind. It's the belief that you cannot have a quality of life, a good quality of life, unless you have a certain drug in you. That's where drug addiction begins. It begins with that kind of thinking. I can't go to this. I'm getting ready to go to this function. I better make sure I get my pills. Well, to that degree, that's drug addiction. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I just want to make that very clear on that. But anyway, but yeah, how these countries are establishing this mindset, and they've been doing this for a very long time, making you believe that something like vitamin D is something that you can only get from them. And you can't go any higher than you can't go any higher than that. Oh, yes, you can. I just showed you. You can blow that joint out of the water. You can blow that thing all the way out of the water when it comes to the amount of vitamin D your body can generate just by spending at least a half an hour out in the sun. All right, let's move right along here. I'm looking at my time like, dang. Okay. Let me see. I have another video here that I'm going to play for you. Now this one is going to get into this one last thing here. It's going to get into something else that we have been talking about, and that is sun water. Yes, that's right. Sun water and the benefits of getting some sun. It's just what the name, what it implies, taking water and sitting out in the sun. There's a whole lot of benefits to that. And I found a very good video. It's about 8 minutes long, probably about 7 minutes after his introduction, where this brother is going to explain to you, what happens when you sit your water out in the sun. Now, you can also apply this to sun tea. Now, so just take the information, what he's saying here, and depending on whatever tea, if you soursop tea or whatever, you're going to get the benefits of sun water plus whatever the benefits of the herb of choice that you're putting in your water. You're going to get those benefits on top of it. Okay. So I'm just going to start with this sun water video here. Hold on. Let me see. Got another ad here coming up. Just waiting for this to get out of here. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's take a listen.
You're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today
I'll
we're
skip
going to be
this
talking
thing.
about how to naturally alkalize water.
I'm going to skip this intro now.
To make sun water.
There we go.
Now this is something that I've mentioned briefly in one of my earlier videos, but I thought it would be necessary to kind of do its own little video and just talk about some of the benefits of sun water, how did I find it, stuff like that, all right? So sun water and alkalizing your water, they go hand in hand. Now there's one thing that I want to make very clear from the get-go. Anytime you alkalize your water using a chemical, that is not the type of alkalized water that you want to be consuming, and that is not the type of alkalized water we're going to be talking about. Now, I got a comment on a video recently, and I believe it was a young lady, and she was talking about how she buys alkaline water from the store. And I'm so happy that she made that comment because it's something I need to address, all right? When companies give you these high pH numbers, it might say 7, 7.8 or 9.0 or whatever it is, there's no guarantee that water hasn't been chemically alkalized, all right? And we do not want to be chemically alkalizing our water, okay? So the only way that I personally know of alkalizing the water with somewhat ease would be sun water. Sun water is simple. You take a glass jar, you take a glass container. I have a 3-gallon glass container. It's clear glass, the lid is glass. It has a silicone ring, I believe. No, wait, my second one doesn't have a silicone ring. So it's just glass, it's pure glass. And I distill my water, and then I put it in this glass container and I sit it out on my porch. Actually, mine sits in my windowsill because the sunlight comes right through, and the sun will naturally alkalize the water. It does not get any more simple than that, okay? The sun is energy, all right? All heat is energy, okay? And the sun not just provides heat, but it provides pretty much all the nutrition that your body could possibly need. That is why getting out and absorbing the sun is so important. And that's also why your skin produces so much vitamin D when you're out in the sun, okay? This is something that we utilize, and this is our true energy source. So depending on how much water you're putting in this glass container, it could take anywhere from 3 days, 2-3 days to alkalize the water, up to a week or more. But to be honest with you, it's going to have instantaneous alkalizing effects. Okay, now I've done tests on my water to see how quickly it was alkalizing, and like I said, the larger the container, the longer it took to get the water above 7. But even if you're taking some distilled water, and let's say you were to test your water with the tester, and I have videos of me doing this, and I'll link that if you guys want to check that out. You test your water, and it says it's 6.58, right? You could set that water outside. If it's a gallon of water or a liter of water, you could set it outside for a day, and you could test it, and you'll have a noticeable increase in the alkalinity of the water. Now these testers, they're very cheap, they're inexpensive, they're not super accurate. They're gonna tell you whether the process is working or not, and it definitely does work. And that's all you need to know. Now, to get the water above 7, especially if you got a gallon or more, it takes some time. So if you really wanna go hard, you could grab a couple of 1 gallon glass containers, or a couple of 3 gallon glass containers, and you can just sit the water out there every day. Or you could just leave it out there, and as you want to drink it, you bring it in, you replace it with another gallon or another 3 gallon or several different jars, and then that way you can always be drinking what I call sun water. The cool thing about sun water is it does change the flavor of the water. When I very first started doing it, me and my brother both noticed that the water had a hint of sweetness to it. It's nothing like you might think as far as, sugary or whatever. It's not like that at all. It's a very faint sweetness, and it probably, I don't know if you're going to notice it right up front. I don't know if it's going to take you a while. I'm not really sure. For me, I had been drinking distilled water for a few months before I ever even attempted this sun water. No, I had been drinking distilled water for almost a year. So my taste buds were very sensitive, and I was able to taste it very easily. I've also heard stories of people who will make some fresh tea or something like that, or lemonade or half and half stuff, and they'll sit it out in the sun. They'll sit the tea out in the sun, and they claim that the sun sweetens the tea like nothing they've ever had. So there's a lot of accounts of this if you guys want to go and look for it, but it's just a quick video to tell you that, if you want to naturally alkalize your water, it's simple. Take your water, and like I said, I like to distill it first, and then I put it in a glass jar and I set it outside. Now you don't have to distill it, because when you energize water, and basically what we're doing is we're structuring the water, okay? Structured water is what your body actually utilizes. So when you're drinking water from the tap, and even if you're drinking gallons of water a day, the reason why you're still dehydrated is because the bulk water, the molecules are too big for your body to actually absorb intercellularly. And so you're not properly hydrating. When you structure your water, you're alkalizing your water, you're energizing your water, you're changing the water on a molecular level, hence the sweetness. Also, it has healing effects. If you've ever heard of even holy water or healing water or anything of that nature, the sun has the ability to take the energy it provides in light waves, and it will be contained in the crystal structure of the water. And yes, water on a very subatomic level is actually crystal. That's the reason why water acts so much different from any other liquid that we know. It's a crystal. It's really amazing. Water is something that you guys definitely want to research in depth. It's not just simply H2O. And I'm sure I'll do some more videos kind of explaining some of the things that I found out about water. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one off now. I hope you guys learned something. Please feel free to ask questions.
And there you go. So that's the guy's channel, A Healthy Alternative. I'm sure some of y'all, he's a pretty large channel there. So again, that's A Healthy Alternative. You can check him out. He talks about a lot of that stuff like that, what he was just sharing with us just now. But yeah, so take what he's saying, and then just if you're going to make a sun tea, on top of that, you're also getting the benefits of whatever tea leaf or whatever that you're putting in there. Some people may put dried fruits in there, as well. Whatever benefit, you're going to get that benefit on top of that as well. So this is something that we kind of just started doing, but this is a practice that goes back many, many years. Okay. Like I know my grandmother used to do it. But it's not something I don't recall. I don't think if my mom did it, she may only did it once or so. I don't recall any other time than that. But my grandmother certainly used to do that, and that's something that she learned from back in her, in her time, And so this is a very old practice, and it's something that's it's quite beneficial in many ways. And again, using the power of the sun, and so listen, as we bring this to a close, there is a lot. Now he uses distilled water. I personally, and I know some people out there, they use distilled water. I personally do not. The only time I use distilled water is if I'm making colloidal silver. That's the only time I'll use distilled water, but I'm not drinking colloidal silver, of course. I don't use distilled water maybe on certain situations, because for those who don't know, distilled water, what it basically is you're taking water and you're boiling it. You're getting rid of so there's no sign of nothing up in there, right? And I'm talking about any kind of bacteria or anything like that. But what you're left with is just straight water. There's even the minerals, even the good stuff suffers too. You know what I'm saying? So what you can do is there's a process where you can remineralize distilled water. There's a way you can do that. But I choose not to. It's not, that's just my choice. That's it. But for people who do it, you do it. You know what I mean? My preference is just, I use, we just get our natural spring water. I just do that because I do want to have, those natural minerals and things that are in the water. I do want that, understanding full well that, all springs aren't going to be pristine clean. You're going to have maybe some little slight things in there, but that's where the sunlight comes in with those UV rays. It kills off any other bacteria and stuff. So, so that's kind of where I go. But whatever water you use, one, I would say if you're going to do sun water or sun tea, I would recommend against tap water. I saw one video, someone's using tap water. I was like, did you just do that? Did you literally just do that? And they did. So, but no, I wouldn't use tap water if you're going to do sun water, if you're going to do that. But anyway, so tonight what we did is I kind of gave you a overview of some of these areas here to show you how well-intentioned, how demonically intentioned, that's what I'm trying to say, where these wicked people are out here, and they have full intention of blocking you, who have been created really to be in maximum sunlight. All right, in maximum sunlight. You've been created to be in that. And these people know that. This is why they're spraying and wanting to cover the sun, because they're saying it's too dangerous. This is why when it comes to what else we talk about? Vitamin D. So that has an impact on vitamin D, your vitamin D impact. They want to do everything they can to keep you in the house so you're not as exposed to the sun at all. They want to serve you foods that are missing these key things that we need for our bodies. This is why you got Bill Gates and the gang out here buying up all this land, this farmland and stuff like that, because they want to put their imprint, if you will, on these things. And so this is why, and I know we got quite a few people in here tonight, you grow your own fruits and vegetables. That's a wonderful thing. Wonderful, 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 wonderful thing. So what I would do with all of this, what we just talked about in the area of food, just take a look at some of the things out there. Do a search. What are the top foods out there that have the highest amount of vitamin D? And look for those things and see where you can get them, and make sure that whatever you get, make sure it's got seeds in it. All right. Make sure it's got seeds in it to the best of your ability. I know some of these things, they don't have seeds in it, but they'll say what's funny is I've seen produce where they'll say it's non-GMO, but it's seedless. What? That you really think that all the way through? It's non-GMO, but it's seedless. Okay. Anyway, so no. So like one of the things I love is watermelon. Love watermelon, seeded watermelon. And I do eat the seeds too. I eat the seeds. I be eating on them things all day. I eat the whole thing. I used to be scared of them when I was little. I thought they were bugs. That's another time, another story. But anyway, but yeah, I eat those seeds and all of that because watermelon especially is such a wonderful fruit because it's been sitting out in that beautiful sun, all of that. So it's collecting not just the food, not just the sunlight, but also that water. So you're getting the water and the sunlight and all that too. That's why watermelon is such a important fruit, you know, for us, particularly as black folks. It's a very, you know, they've taken watermelon and made it in something comical, with something we mock, that they used to mock us or whatever. No, that was brought over from Africa and we brought it over here. And it's so stay away from anything that's seedless. And so your assignment with all of this information is look at foods in addition to exposing yourself to additional sunlight to at least a half an hour. Also take a closer look at the different foods that are out there as well and start trying to weave those foods that are high in vitamin D in there. Why is that important? Because it plays into so many parts of your body. And I didn't talk about sun gazing. That was the one thing I forgot. I'll do a separate video on that. When you are sun gazing, I'll just mention this. You got something called the pineal gland. That's the thing that's right in the center of your brain, okay? We can talk all about that. I have a video that I was going to play on that, but it's another 20 minutes. So I'll maybe reference it or something. But she talks about the pineal gland and basically it's almost as if your eyes have this direct connection to your pineal gland. So when you are staring at the sun, now remember we talked about this before. You do not want to, the best times to sun gaze is early in the morning at that first sunrise, if you have a clear line of sight where you can see it, or at sunset where that sun is about to go down, if you got a clear line of that. In the middle of the day, you don't want to do that because it's at its brightest. And or if you're like, man, that's the only time I have. Like for me, because of the tree line and all of that where I am, the only time I can sun gaze is around 8, 9 o'clock or whatever. So at that time, I'm not staring directly at the sun. All right. You do not want to stare directly at the sun. What I do is I look around the sun. So let's say if this is the pin right here, my thumb is the actual sun right here. I'm not staring at it. My eyes are going around it. Okay. You're just going around it. And what happens is that sunlight, even those UV rays and all that, it's going in and it's getting into this pineal gland. Now, when you get on here on YouTube and you do searches on this, you're going to find a lot of people that are in those Eastern religions and stuff. And they really talk a lot about that, you know, and opening up your chakra and opening up your third eye and all this other stuff here. There's a lot of truth to that. But I also want to say, too, because it's spiritual. Now you're dealing with some spiritual things here. You understand? But when you open yourself up, the only one spiritually I'm opening myself up to is the Most High. I'm not having any discussions with ancestors. I'm just telling you for me. I'm not talking to any angels. I'm not doing anything like that. It's the Most High and Him only, right? So but there is truth to the fact that when that sunlight, when it gets into your eyes, that pure unadulterated sunlight, when it's getting into your eyes, it's doing things here in this pineal gland that's heightening your awareness to a lot of things, both in the natural and spiritual as well. It is. And this is something even me, I'm experiencing a lot of this stuff. A lot of the foods and the things that we've intake over the years through here has calcified this. So that's why it's important to eat very good foods, drinking plenty of water, and getting plenty of sunlight, because the combination of those things, what it does is decalcifies this thing. And I'm going to tell you what, you're going to start seeing and having some very wonderful experiences on your walk, on this spiritual walk. You will. I'm going to tell you, you will. So yeah, so there's a lot of great information out there on that. And like I said, again, I had a video. If it, honey, or family, if it wasn't, if this was a little bit, as it wasn't as long, I would play it. But it's a very good video, and this is a husband and wife team. I think they're in India, and they go into it, and it's a very I thought she did a very good job. I just at least want to see, if you give me a moment, let me see if I can get to one part of it. Maybe I'll just play an excerpt of it. But it's a very good video, and I'll even show you the name. It's the channel is the Sattvic movement. That's what it's called. And they're out of India. Let me see here, because she has it in chapters. Let me just see here if I have where I can look at the chapters here. Sunbathing, sun gazing. I'll look at I'll tell you what. I'll look at this, because see, I get a little hesitant when I'm doing these long videos, because I know folks don't be looking at the whole thing. But anyway, I'll play this chapter on the sun gazing part, okay? And we'll leave off on that. All right. So let me just play that for you, and then, because I just want to really make sure you guys are getting, this information, because it's so critical. All right. So let me go ahead and play this for you.
To harness energy from the sun. It's called sun gazing. Sun gazing is an ancient practice. It's not something new. It basically means looking at the sun for about 15 minutes every day, when it is not bright at all, in the early morning or the evening. Mother Nature's greatest gift that we are enjoying on top of our body is our brain, and we are hardly able to use, say, 2 or 3% of it. Nature has gifted us with immense power, but unfortunately, our brain remains dormant because no sunlight is reaching it. Sunlight is like the power supply, the electricity for the brain. If the brain gets this power supply, it can do wonders. Sunlight can reach the brain fastest through your eyes. Eyes are the extended part of your human brain. They are like the windows of the brain. Our eyes are also a very delicate organ. So while sun gazing, we also must be careful that no harm is caused to the eye. So, how to sun gaze? Simply look at the sun with your naked eyes. It's very easy. Just look at the sun like you would look at the TV. It's okay to blink your eyes in between. When to do it? Only during the safe hours of the sun, during the first hour from sunrise or the last hour before sunset. There is no ultraviolet rays at these times. Do not sun gaze during the afternoon sun, which is very strong. It will only do harm. For how long to do it? Look at the sun for about 15 minutes. After a few minutes, you will see your thoughts disappearing, and everything in the background will start to become blurry and black. And then the only thing you will start to see is the sun. Do it according to your convenience. If someday you cannot do it in the morning, do it in the evening. It's okay to switch also. No problem. If you do both times, that is also fine. Someday it may be cloudy weather, or your compulsion in life may prevent you from doing it. Forget about that day. No harm. Restart when the sun comes out, but be consistent to see real results. If possible, while sun gazing, stand straight, barefoot on the ground. By doing so, you are earthing yourself. Years and years of sunlight is trapped into that ground, which is transferred to your body through your feet. Do not wear any glasses or contact lenses while sun gazing. When you look at the sun, powerful photons of energy from the sun are received by your eye. Then they go to the brain, and from there to your entire body, and health of the entire body is improved. You will have a sun-charged body. See, sunlight is energy. If there is no sunlight, nothing will grow on this earth. It is sunlight that gives beauty and life to this world. And even when a fraction of this energy hits the earth, flowers blossom, fruits ripen, and plants grow into trees and forests. Sunlight contains life-giving energy, and the same life-giving energy is transferred to your body and is used to heal your tissues and your cells when you receive it. When we think about food, we think only about fruits and vegetables and cereals, right? But take a moment and think deeper. What is the food of our food? Sunlight. What we usually eat is a secondary source of sun energy. Original source of sun energy is sunlight itself. Even when we eat a fruit or a vegetable, it's actually the sun's energy going inside us, because of which we feel energetic. So by sun gazing, you're getting the most primary source of energy. Sunlight is the most direct form of food. Sunlight is food that does not need to be carried, but is received from the cosmic sources. When you continue sun gazing for about 3 months every day, As you get more and more energy from the sun, your hunger levels will start disappearing proportionately. Instead of getting energy from traditional food, you are slowly getting more and more energy from the sun. 16-hour fasting, suggested in my last video, will become easier. Your appetite will reduce. Your hunger will be under your hands, in your control. The first benefit of sun gazing will be on your eyes. Eye health will improve. You can get it tested. Your prescription will change and you will have to change your glasses accordingly. Don't continue with your old glasses. Cataracts, nearsightedness, farsightedness, everything disappears. So many books written by experts these days. Better eyesight without glasses, reading without glasses. Thousands of people have gotten rid of spectacles by sun gazing. Then, after about 3 months, another wonder will take place. Your brain will start getting this energy and you will have a more balanced mind. The wavering, turbulent mind will become more balanced. You will become more positive in your thinking. Your fears will start to go away. Your willpower will increase. IQ will increase. Brain cells will regenerate. Insomnia will go away. Sunlight will give you a higher, more elevated consciousness, and your spiritual seeking will increase. By sun gazing, you provide energy to your pineal gland, better known as the third eye. Concentration will increase, your intuition, your gut feeling will increase, and so will your ability to be able to perceive things on a non-physical level. In due course, your cravings will begin to disappear. Even addictions will go away, whether it is addiction to cigarettes, alcohol, or even food cravings. Moment you fall in love with the sun, everything will change. I understand if you think that this is too simple to be true, but let me tell you something. The truth is always simple. If something is not simple, it's not capable of being the truth. You don't need to go through the winding woods of pharmacology, bacteriology, physiology to keep yourself healthy. You need to do simple things consistently. Sunlight is lifestyle medicine. The reason you don't hear about it on TV or newspapers is because nobody profits from lifestyle medicine other than you, of course. So, it's not made a part of medical training. That's just how the system works. In the next video, we will talk about sun-charged water and sun.
Okay, so there you go. So yeah, so she really rounded it all up there in terms of the benefits of sun gazing, and I'm glad I did that. I just wanted to show you, at least show you that part of it there, and you know, there's a lot out there, and like she said, the truth is very simple. A lot of people, they try to make it where you got to take this class or you got to pay me at my Patreon in order to give this. We ain't doing that, you know. No, we just want to get. When you're doing the truth, it should be something extremely simple and something that everybody can follow, and you know, if they want to. But yeah, so tonight I know we covered quite a bit here, but I wanted you to see, you know, this real war on, you know, and on us as a people, particularly Black folks, but everybody, and how this stuff really plays on many areas of your life, not just physical, but also spiritual as well. You'll find a lot of people that the optimism that you should have for life ain't there. I mean, if you're just honest with some people, it just isn't there. Just always negative and always, I can't wait till the Most High just destroy all this stuff. And when is the judgment coming? And I just can't wait till judgment time comes. And oh, I just hate all it here. I just hate it here. Okay, we understand. I get that. But at the same time, there should be a high optimism that you should have for life. And despite of all of the foolishness and the wickedness and the craziness that's out here, you should be full of life, and you should be one that is healthy and have a good and you have a wellness about you that other people would want. You know what I'm saying? Why are they so happy? What? Not because you goofy, it's because you legitimately are happy. You understand what I'm saying? And you are living a long, healthy, and prosperous life. And that's really what this is all about. This is what we are all about here with Samba Tree. So it's not, like I said again at the beginning of this broadcast, Samba Tree is way more than just a store, you know, where you come and you can buy a little stuff here and there, and we're glad that people can do that. But Samba Tree, the mission that we're tied to is also taking the time like we're doing right now and educating our people on these things right here. And I know some people even get tired. Oh, he's going to talk about the sun again. That's right. And I'm going to keep on talking about it because I know, and I'm very convinced, if we can get this, we're going to see a lot more of our people stop not taking these high blood pressure pills, not on dialysis, not dealing with these joint pains and having clearer vision. I'm gonna tell you right now what I'm doing. I'm still doing between the sun gazing and doing the the castor oil on my eyes. I'm just noticing it's slight, but I am noticing a slight improvement in my eyesight. A slight. It ain't much, but I'll take a look. I'll take slight every day. So I'm going to keep on doing it, and I'm going to keep on telling y'all, okay, now I'm noticing this or that or whatever. And that's something you can do on your own. This ain't for you to buy stuff at Samba Tree. We don't sell sunlight. We don't sell sunlight. You can get that for free. We're trying to get you to see the value in what he's already put out there for you. All right. So we're going to end it right here, family. Thank you so much for tuning in to this broadcast of Samba Tree in the Lab. You guys take care, and we'll be talking again soon. Love you now.